right, friends, in the last video we talked about long division using just numbers. In this video, we're going to expand that idea to do long division with polynomials. So you may remember that my method for doing long division involves 4 steps: division, multiplication, subtraction, and then bring the next number down. And I like to write that at the top of my paper to remember the sequence of steps, and that after I bring the number down, I need to start over and go through the whole process again. So I would suggest you go ahead and put that on your paper as well. We want to look at a different type of problem. So this you might see written as x cubed minus x squared plus 2x plus 5. You could see it written as that number divided by x plus 1 with the x cubed minus x squared plus 2x plus 5 in parentheses, division symbol x plus 1 in parentheses. Or you could also see it written with a fraction bar with the x cubed minus x squared plus 2x plus 5 fraction bar x plus 1 in the denominator. These mean exactly the same thing. What they mean is we need to divide that polynomial. So I'm going to write the x cubed, whoop, that was a minus, not a plus. All right, fixed it. Minus x squared plus 2x plus 5 inside the division symbol with x plus 1 on the outside. All right, so remember, this is going to work just like the numbers, except we've got x's, with one small exception. When we do the division piece, we're only going to deal with the leading term in the inside polynomial and the leading term in the polynomial we're dividing by. So for our first step, I'm going to look at x cubed divided by x. We're not going to worry about any of those other things, just the x cubed divided by x. Well, x cubed divided by x gives me x squared. And I like to line them up with the x squared term in the dividend here. I think you'll see why later, but it helps me keep track of them and know that I didn't forget a term. All right, we did the division part. Now let's do multiplication. We're going to take this x squared on the top and we're going to multiply it by everything on the outside. Everything on the outside this time. So x squared times x gives me x cubed. X squared times positive 1 gives me positive x squared. So I'm going to write x cubed plus x squared underneath my x cubed minus x squared of the original dividend. All right, the subtraction piece is next. Now remember, we subtract after we multiply. We subtract the whole thing though. So I like to say, draw the line, change all the signs. And it helps because it rhymes. So we are subtracting everything that is written on that line underneath, everything that was our multiplication part. All right, so I have x cubed minus x cubed is no x cubed. Negative x squared minus another x squared gives me negative 2x squared. And then finally, we're going to bring down that next term, which is plus 2x. And we start the process over. So looking at the first term of minus 2x squared divided by that first term of x, well, minus 2x squared divided by x gives me minus 2x. And if you need to do that little division off to the side, that's great, no problem. All right, we did the division, multiplication's next. Minus 2x times x gives me minus 2x squared. Minus 2x times 1 gives me minus 2x. Notice that the minus 2x squareds match. And that's on purpose. They should match. We set this up so that they would. All right. Next is the subtraction. And as I said before, draw the line, change all the signs. So we have minus 2x squared plus 2x squared is no x squared, it's just a 0. And then 2x plus 2x gives me 4x. Next step is bring down the next term, and that is a plus 5. Starting the process over. So 4x divided by x gives me positive 4. I'll write that positive 4 over the plus 5 above the division sign. Multiplying 4 times x gives me 4x. 4 times 1 gives me positive 4. So I'll write that 4x plus 4 below the 4x plus 5. We've done the multiplication part. Now let's do the subtraction. Draw the line, change all the signs. 4x minus 4x is 0. 5 minus 4 is 1. That means I have a remainder of 1. And remember, college algebra, we write it as a fraction. So it is a positive 1. I'll add a plus to my quotient up on top of the division bar. And I will write 1, which is my remainder, divided by what we divided by, x plus 1. So my final answer, my quotient, would be the fancy name, is x squared minus 2x plus 4 plus 1 over x plus 1. And that would be my final answer. All right. Let's look at another one. Sometimes we don't have all the terms represented. So let's say we had a problem of x cubed minus 1 divided by x minus 1. We don't have an x squared or an x term represented in that numerator. That's okay, but we do have to add a placeholder for them. So when I write this division problem out, I'll draw my division bar first, and inside that I'll have x cubed plus 0x squared plus 0x minus 1. So it's the same as x cubed minus 1. We've just left space for the x squared and the x terms. And then on the outside, we'll write x minus 1, because that's what we're dividing by. All right, let's go through this process again. I'm going to use the same colors I did over here so that we can kind of track the process the same way. Remember, the first step is division. X cubed divided by x gives me x squared. And that x squared will go directly above where the 0x squared is, directly above that on the division bar. We did the division. Let's do the multiplication. X squared times x is x cubed. X squared times negative 1 is negative x squared. So underneath the x cubed plus 0x squared, I'm going to write x cubed minus x squared. Subtraction time. Draw the line, change all the signs. So I have x cubed minus x cubed is 0, and then 0x squared plus 1x squared gives me just positive x squared. And then I'll bring down that next term, which is 0x. So at the bottom, I have written x squared plus 0x. And we'll start the process again. X squared divided by x gives me positive x. So I'll write plus x above the plus 0x in our division. Multiplication, x times x gives me x squared. X times negative 1 is minus x. So underneath the x squared plus 0x, I have x squared minus x. We're going to subtract that entire line, so we will draw the line and change both signs. So I have x squared minus x squared is 0. 0x plus 1x gives me just x. And I will bring down my next term, which is minus 1. All right, one more time. X divided by x is 1. So I'm going to write plus 1 on top of my division bar. And then we'll do the multiplication. 1 times x is x. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. So I'll write x minus 1 at the bottom. Subtraction time. Draw the line, change all the signs. X minus x is 0. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0. So I have a remainder of 0. I don't have to add a fraction at the end because it divides evenly, and my remainder is 0. Okay? All right. I'd like to do one more of these where we have a coefficient on the front. We'll do kind of a short one. I'm going to do, say, 3x squared plus 2x plus 1, and we're going to divide this by 3x minus 1. Okay? So, inside my division bar, I have the 3x squared plus 2x plus 1. On the outside of the division bar, I have 3x minus 1. All right, I want to encourage you to pause the video, work this out, and then restart it to check yourself. Okay, welcome back. So we want to start with 3x squared divided by 3x. Well, 3x squared divided by 3x would give us just x. So we'll write x above the 2x on top of that division bar. Then we'll do the multiplication part. X times 3x is 3x squared. X times negative 1 is negative x. All right, we are going to do the subtraction piece, draw the line, change all the signs. So 3x squared minus 3x squared is 0. 2x plus x is 3x. And we'll bring down the next number. So at the bottom, I have 3x plus 1. Starting the process over. 3x divided by 3x is positive 1. So I'll write plus 1 on top of that division bar. Multiplying, 1 times 3x is 3x. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. To subtract, draw the line, change all the signs. 3x minus 3x is 0. 1 plus 1 is 2. So I have a remainder of 2 here. So we will add that to the end of our quotient as 2 divided by 3x minus 1. So my quotient would be x plus 1 plus 2 over 3x minus 1. Okay, in the next video, we're going to look at synthetic division, which is another method to divide polynomials that we can use in a lot of cases. And when we can use it, it tends to be a little bit simpler and a little bit quicker. Can't use it for all cases. There are times we have to do long division, but synthetic division helps with a lot. So check out that next video.